Hey, welcome everybody to the 19th class in this Bhagavad Gita study series. We are at the last portion of the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a very important topic on yajnas. So those who are familiar with Ayurveda and yoga, so the fire, the Jataragnis, is considered a sacred entity. So we'll talk a lot about Krishna talks a lot about it in this portion. Um, as usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati, whose discourses we've been following for his traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. So we'll start with a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Partyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati. So, okay. um, so we are in the third portion. It is about Jnana Sadhana and Jnana Pala, which means sadhana is sadhana means or the effort you need to put in to get this knowledge. So Bhagavan has talked about the knowledge, and then he talks about the means, and he's going to talk about the pala, the fruits, the benefits of this. So the jnana sadhana and mahima, the glories, they're all mentioned in 25 to 34. Then here Krishna enlists 12 sadhanas, 12 means for getting this knowledge. He calls them yajna. So I mentioned in that when we were studying the third chapter, and Ravi, you asked me this question. I said we'll talk about yajnas in great detail in the fourth chapter. So Krishna calls these yajnas. What is a yajna? Let me remind again. The word yajna comes from the root yaj, which means worship. So yajna is worship with sacrifice of lower comforts and performed for a higher purpose, a higher good, while also satisfying one's legitimate desires. So the satisfying one's legitimate desires may or may not be there. So Krishna lists 12 yajnas, means for getting knowledge. So as I said, um, yajna, it's done with a fire, but sometimes it can be symbolic. When you do pranayama regularly every day as a yajna, the fire is the internal Jatara Agni. So yajna means offering something into the fire as worship. Root is yaj, as I said. And this is like a tapas. So you have to understand the context in which it is mentioned here. Um, I mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned as is divided into three shatkams. First 6 chapters, second 6 chapters, third 6 chapters. The first shatkam, the effort, the means is prayatna or personal effort, and that is what is mentioned here. When you it requires some effort every day. Waking up early requires some effort. I mean, you're not compromising sleep, but you're just changing the schedule to wake up early. When you do this, it's a little effort is there. What it creates is tapas, this heat, and this heat is what purifies. So the body and also the mind. So so you're all coming to Gita class, you can do other things, but this commitment, it is like the heat, the little bit of effort that's initially put in, that purifies the mind. So that is the yajna symbolizes the destruction of the maladies of the destruction of the maladies of the mind and the body, using the heat, tapas, of the fire of knowledge and yoga practice. The word tapas comes from the word tap. Tap means literally heat. So even asana practice, a traditional hatha yoga, it is a tapas, because you're forging the body with the heat of the practice. There are many hatha yogic texts. One famous text is called Gheranda Samhita. It's about a person called Gherandha who um, talks about a lot of these aspects of hatha yoga. There he says, Ama kumbeva ambastah jhivyamana sadagataha yoga nalena sandahya gata shuddhim samacharet. Like an unbaked pot in water, right? A clay pot. The body is always decaying. One should bake it with the fire of yoga and make it pure. So the heat generated by the tapas, it's not physical heat, it's symbolic. The discipline, it forges the body and the mind in a certain way. So that is what Krishna is going to talk about it in the 12 chapters. In the 12, no, sorry, 12 yajnas that he is going to enlist in about 6 shlokas. Daivame pare yajnam yoginak paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajnam yajnainaivopajuhvati. Okay. Apare means some others, some karma yogis perform only yajna rituals in which they invoke the deities. Daivam eva, only the deities. They just invoke the Daivam eva, apare yajnam, other some karma yogis, paryupasate, they kind of offer or do this worship. Others offer their self by themselves into the fire of the knowledge of the Brahman. Brahma Agni, Brahma Knav Apare Yajnam. Brahma, the knowledge of the Brahman, the fire of the knowledge of the Brahman, it destroys all the ignorance. Brahma Knava Pare Yajnam Yajnenaivopajuhvati. Upajuhvati means offer. Yajnenaiva. So they offer their self, their lower self, which the ego. So by offering their time, and their ego is burnt by the fire of this knowledge. When the ego is burnt, there is freedom, because it is identification with the I that causes the suffering. And Krishna later in the 33rd verse, he will clearly say that of all the yajnas, the jnana yajna is the highest. So the Gita study like that, he'll say Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnad Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Khilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. So all this, sometimes people offer things into the fire. They give um, donations, all these charities. It's all great, but knowledge, yajna of knowledge, study of the scriptures, that's the highest form of yajna according to Krishna, and we'll see that soon. So Daiva yajna, we saw these 2 yajnas: puja to a deity, Brahma jnana yajna, ardent study of the scriptures. Higher self is the fire, that is the Brahman. Lower self or the ego is the offering. Okay, so you're offering that. The Gita study, as I said, is one of the highest forms of yajna. In the 18th chapter, Krishna will state that the jnana yajna is the highest yajna, and Gita study is considered a jnana yajna. Shrotradin indriyan anye samyamagnishu juhvati shabdadin vishayan anya indriyagnishu juhvati. So others offer the sense organs, like the organ of hearing, into the fire of self-control. Yet others they offer the objects of sound, like it's speech. Vishayan. So Vishayan Anya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. They offer it into the fire of the senses. So let's see what it means. It's all very symbolic, right? Okay. So there are two indriyas are divided into two kinds. There are five jnana indriyas and five karma indriyas. Let's see if I can go to this. Okay. Um, the jnana indriyas are the organs um, of it's actually the devices of the five senses: shabda, sound; sparsha, touch; rupa, form, eyes, what you see with the eyes; rasa, taste; gandha, smell. So these are the five jnana indriyas. Then there are five organs of action: karma indriyas. This is walk, speech. That's what is mentioned in this shloka. Pani, um, that is the hands; padam, the feet; payu, that is the organ of excretion; anus; and upastha, the reproductive organ. So these are the five organs of action. So some people, so it's divided into two kinds. The gist of the shloka is restraint of the input and restraint of the output. Input is all the jnana indriyas, output is all the karma indriyas. So the first portion, it says, some offer the sense organs like the organ of hearing into the fire of self-control. The second, it's the Vishayan Shabda Adi, means Shabda, etc. Vishayan Anya. So these are the objects of sound, everything. So it's like speech, and when you when the sense objects are there, so you go for it with your hands, your feet, all that. They offer that into the fire of the senses. Um, the concept. So the gist is restraint of input and output, right? Of output senses. The concept is when you want to gain mastery over something, from becoming a slave of something, offer it into the fire of will. So here discipline is needed. So sense discipline is called Indriya Samyama. So otherwise, it's also called Dhamma. So the word Dhamma is Krishna will use it so many times in the Bhagavad Gita. Dhamma is sense discipline. It is not suppression. It is mastering the senses, so you don't feel that you're deprived if you don't have a sense object. So suppression, it's not suppression, it is mastery. So you go above, you're not a slave to the senses. um, there is no physical fire and physical oblation involved. It is just um, a symbolic offering of this into the discipline. Okay. So here we saw dhamma yajna, sensory discipline, is sitting for meditation. That's very difficult for a lot of people. They just want to see, hear everything without just being shut in silence. It's impossible. And then Vishaya Bhoga Yajna. So giving up addiction to sense objects. So your mouth, so you want to speak or taste, or and then you have a desire to go towards an object and take it. So Vishaya Bhoga Yajna. Vishaya Bhoga means enjoyment of objects of the senses. Yajna is sacrificing, giving it up for a higher cause. That is forging, becoming a master instead of being a slave to these objects. Sarpanindriya karmani pranakarmani chapare atma samyama yogagnau juhvati jnana dipite. So the important word here is atma samyama yogagni. Atma samyama means, like, even here Atma refers to the mind. So I told you Sanskrit is a live language. Same word Atma can mean different things in different places. Here Atma samyama yoga means evenness of mind. In fact, the sixth chapter, which we'll soon see, the sixth chapter is considered a primer on yoga meditation. It is the chapter on the yogi, the definition of yogi. Everything comes in the sixth chapter. Sixth chapter is known by two names: Atma Samyama Yoga. how you get evenness of the mind through meditation. It's also called dhyana yoga because it's meditation. So others offer the activities of the various sense organs and the functions of the prana into the fire of self mastery. Self mastery means mastery of the mind, lighted by the lamp of knowledge. So it's called Juhvati Jnana Deepite, lighted by the Jnana Deepa, the light of knowledge. So, Sarva Indriya Karmani, activities of all the sense organs, Prana Karmani, the functions of the prana, they are putting it into the Atma Samyama Yoga Agni. That is the fire of self mastery, of how you get evenness of mind. And it's lighted by the lamp of knowledge. So that's what it says. All the activities of all the sense organs. It's kind of um, in a way a summary of the last two. So the sense, basically sense mastery. So Dhamma is considered a very important topic in yoga. So Atma Samyama Jnana. So the first one is already Sarvendriya Karmani. It's already mentioned previously. Now Atma Samyama Yogagnav. So that the yajna mentioned is Atma Samyama yajna, mental discipline over the 10 organs. So it's like a summary of the previous two shlokas. We already saw the sense organs are compared to the horses. They can run hither and thither. So you have to rein them in with the mind. There, some effort is needed. Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yatayak samshita vrata. Okay. There are others of great self-control and firm resolves. Yatayaha, yati, the words of yoga, yati, all these has the same root, yuj, to yoke. Yati is somebody who's great self-control. In fact, Krishna will use the word in the 6th chapter. So yatinam, so he'll say of the yatis, the great self-controlled people. Yatayaha samshita vrata, those who have taken vows. Some people take vows. I'll eat only one meal a day. We'll see that Bhishma talks about it. One meal a day for 40 days. That is a great vow. Initially, it's difficult, people describe. Then after some days, it becomes much more easier. So that is yatayaha samshita vrata, vows, great vows. Dravya yajnas, tapo yajna, yoga yajnas, tatapare. So they dravya yajna means it is distribution of wealth. They distribute wealth. Tapo yajna, they perform tapas. Tapas is austerity. So this also is austerity, not eating many meals a day and sticking to one meal a day for 40 days. That's austerity. And the whole idea in Ayurveda is that it's typically mentioned for, there are Ayurvedic experts here, but in Ayurveda, typically it's mentioned for kapha constitutions. Sometimes the mandagni, the fire is dull. So to stoke the fire, don't put more and more things into this. Let it slowly just ignite and become a nice flame. So it is a form of this heat. Tapas, heat is form of forging the body and destroying all the maladies. So dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna. So the yajna of yoga, he says. Then swadhyaya yajna. Swadhyaya, study of the scriptures. Jnana yajna. So swadhyaya, study. Jnana yajna means understanding the scriptures properly. Yatayaha samshita vrata, people of great self-control and firm resolves, they do all these things, Krishna says. They do this as yajna. So here we saw dravya yajna, charity, tapo yajna, austerity, or sukha tyagaha, for a greater cause. Giving up small pleasures for a big benefit, big pleasure. Yoga Yajna, meditation. So this is covered in detail in the 6th chapter. Swadhyaya Yajna, study of scriptures. And Jnana Yajna, understanding the meaning of the scriptures. So you'll probably ask, yes, Anjana, you had a question?
Yes, while we are in the context of Gnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, there is also something called Tanmatras. Do you know
Yeah,
what it is? And is it related to this or is it different? I just had a
yeah.
question.
This I think no, that's not related here. So I will get you the exact context if it's related later. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
So Swadhyaya, what's the difference between Swadhyaya and Jnana? So you may ask. So Swadhyaya means study. So Jnana Yajna means it's a little step more. You have to understand the meaning of the scriptures. So typically, if you look at Vedantic study, there are 3 steps to that. Shravanam, which is listening or study of the scriptures, that is Swadhyaya. Mananam, which is understanding the meaning or memorizing, whatever you can say. That is the Jnana Yajna. And then the final step is Vedantic meditation. Krishna is going to talk about it in detail in the 6th chapter. It's called Nididhyasanam, assimilating the fact that I am not the body, I'm separate from this. So that is through Nididhyasanam, meditation. It has some thoughts, but it is focused thought. It is a high state of meditation once you get control over the mind. Then comes pranayama. Apane juhvate pranam, prane panam tatha pare, prana panagati rudva, pranayama parayana. Okay, here it says, so to others offer apana, which is the exhalation. You can think of it as exhalation. Apana is more than exhalation. Let's just think of it as exhalation. Apane juhvati pranam, offering apana into the fire of the prana, inhalation, and prana into the fire of apana. Controlling the rate of inhalation and exhalation, they are committed to the practice of pranayama. So in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika also it mentions that when the prana and the apana meet. So uh, in one case, the prana is strong in some pranayamas, and then you apana is there. You offer it into the fire of prana, and vice versa. So these are different forms of pranayama. So he's uh, giving a symbolic way of describing, offer it into the fire of the prana, offer this into the fire of the apana. It's basically prana apana gati rudva. Gati means metering, or the rate of controlling the rate of exhalation and inhalation. Prana and apanas rate rudva control. um, Pranayama parayana. So parayana, it's a yajnam. Even this Gita study we are doing, it's called Gita Parayana. When you chant all the 18 chapters, it is called a Parayana. Parayana. Mm. So pranayama is talked about in detail in the Yoga Sutras. So some of these things. So the gati. So Krishna talks about the gati, right? And that's exactly, it's metering, it is controlling the flow of the breath. So tasmin sati swasha prashvashayo gati vicheda pranayamaha. It's here, Jayashri.
तस्मिन् सति श्वासप्रश्वासयोर्गतिविच्छेदः प्राणायामः.
Did you hear the chant? Yeah, everybody? Yes. Okay. Having established in that asana or posture, tasmin sati, having established, pranayama is a regulation, metering of inhalation and exhalation. Uh, Gati vicheda, shwasha, prashvasha. So that's how Patanjali defines it. Here, Krishna calls it pranapana. So the two ways. And then there's totally 6 sutras on pranayama. One is in the first chapter of the Yoga Sutras. The rest 5 are in the second chapter of the Yoga Sutras. And the benefits, he says, it makes the mind fit for concentration, pranayama. So it's the power. By forging this with the heat of the practice, the mind is made fit for concentration.
धारणासु च योग्यता मनसः
Dharana is trying to focus, right? So it makes the mind fit for concentration. And then the final one is the benefit that Patanjali talks about is
ततः क्षीयते प्रकाशावरणम्.
okay. This is an important thing. So the avaranam, all our organs, mind, there's a dullness. It is the avaranam, the covering, the dirt, the ama, and tata kshiyate, pranayama destroys the veil covering the light within. So that is how powerful pranayama is. Okay, so we saw the pranayama, yajna of pranayama is mentioned here. So it's such an important yajna. Then now Krishna talks about moderation in food intake. This is also yajna, because remember, yajna, it's all about stoking the fire, right? Discipline, forging. So you'll see all these words, they refer to the yajna. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yajna vidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha. Others who regulate their food intake offer their desire to eat more into the digestive fire called samana. So it's symbolic. You are offering the desire to eat into the digestive fire. It's like a yajna, so very symbolic. And this fire is the one which destroys all the impurities by not dousing it with sand. All these people understand yajna without exception, become those whose sins are destroyed by yajna. Api here means apare niyatahara, others. Niyatahara means regulated food consumption. Pranan praneshu juhvati, they offer it into the digestive fire. Here pranan, you have to interpret it as like the desires to eat. Praneshu juhvati, into the digestive fire of samana. Sarve ete yajna vidaha, all these people who understand yajna without exception. Here api means without exception, yajna kshaprita kalmasha, their sins are destroyed by yajna. Okay. Okay. So this probably is a very important concept in yoga. Fasting is a way to clean the system through the heat of samana. So eating more and more, it's considered to douse the jatara agni and causes sickness. Because if the agni is not strong, it's not going to metabolize the food. So all the unmetabolized things get deposited as ama, cholesterol, all these things. If the agni is so strong, you can eat anything and not gain weight. Sadhguru has a detailed video on this. I'll send it to you later. So eating more is like dousing this fire by putting sand on it. So ahara niyama yajna, fasting and moderation in eating, was discussed. Now I just wanted to share this information from Mahabharata. So Bhishma was lying on the deathbed. Okay. he is lying on a bed of arrows because he didn't want to lie on the ground. He wanted something comfortable. So he asks Arjuna to build him, like he's a warrior. So give me a bed suitable for a warrior, a bed of arrows. So he's lying on that. He's waiting for the Uttarayanam. So from the Dakshinayanam to Uttarayanam, the northern movement of the sun, so he can exit his Atma. So in this portion of the Mahabharata, Bhishma advises, so Yudhishthira is about to take the throne, right? And Krishna tells, before you take the throne, there's one person in the entire world who can teach you all about governing a kingdom, and that is Bhishma. So he's not going to be with us for longer. So go to him and understand everything. Ask him to tell everything that you want to know, and because that will be of great help to you in ruling the kingdom. But Bhishma, his half his life is gone. He's just hanging by the thin thread. And so Yudhishthira comes and asks him, and then Bhishma says, I have no energy in him. Then Krishna blesses him. You will have your vigor that you always had. And then he starts talking about different things, how to rule a kingdom, on dharma. And one of the portions, that's where the Vishnu Sahasranamam also comes. That's the final portion. Kimekam daivatam loke kim vapekam parayanam. He has 6 questions. Kimarchakim, so all these questions he answers in the form of 1008 names of Lord Vishnu. So Bhishma answers. But in this portion comes a very most compelling link between yoga and diet. So here Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows. So I'll just read this out. It's on fasting and skipping meals periodically. So what Bhishma here says, let me make it. Okay. Bhishma says, Yudhishthira asks Bhishma, so what about, so he talks about yajnas quite a bit. So what about people who are poor and they cannot perform a yajna? Yajna requires a ritual fire worship. It needs priests. You have to pay the priests. You also have to donate food, essentials at the end of it. If, let's say, you yourself are poor, how can you reap the benefits of a yajna? Then Bhishma tells him that this is the same benefit you will achieve through fasting and eating less. This is called upavasam in Sanskrit. Bhishma says, if a person eats 1 meal a day for a year, then he or she reaps the benefit of the greatest yajna. If this is not possible, one should eat 1 meal a day on alternate days. He goes on then to say that even eating 1 meal a day every 15 days and 2 meals a day on the other days will give you significant benefits. If one eats just 2 meals a day for 6 years, one attains some siddhi, superpower. So this is the benefits of fasting. So Anushasana Parva of the Mahabharata, Bhishma very clearly outlines the importance of fasting. Okay, that's a small digression into the Mahabharata. Let's listen to this again. This topic is so important. That's why, because it's the fire, the restraint, and using the fire to clean the impurities in yoga. It's so important. That's why I'm showing it through different means.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित् तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता आपूर्यमाणम् अचलप्रतिष्ठम् समुद्रमापः प्रविशन्ति यद्वत् तद्वत्कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्य.
Okay, so that goes for the importance of this Agni, the tapas, which is used in yoga practice. Okay, then continuing, 31st sloka. Yajnashishtamritabhujaha yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokosya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama. Those who partake of the nectar, which is the result that is left over after the yajna, they attain the eternal Brahman. For those who do not perform yajna, there is nothing to be gained even in this world. So, what can there be gained in any other world in future janmas if they can't even get anything in this world? So, it's the importance of doing yajna. So, yajna shishta amrita bhujaha. Yajna shishta amritam, here amritam is the nectar, the leftover after the yajna. Those who consume, they attain yanti brahma sanatanam, eternal Brahma. So they attain the eternal Brahma. So what does it mean? It just means, we already saw that in the 3rd chapter, right? When you're doing things for the greater good, it's not always selfish. Okay, and Bhagavan talks about these shlokas. Here Yajnashishtamrita Bhujaha, there in the 3rd chapter, Yajnashishtashinas santaha muchyante sarva kilbishai bunjate te tvagam papaha ye pachantyatma karanat. So those who eat the leftover of the yajna, those who give and then consume, they are purified of all sins. But those who only cook for themselves, that's symbolic of doing selfish actions, they are sinners. Bhunjate te tvagam, they only eat sin. Te tvagam papaha ye pachant atma karanat, for selfish reasons, they cook for selfish reasons. That's what Krishna says. Then he also says in the previous shloka in the 3rd chapter, Ishtan bogan hivo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tairdattana pradayebhyah yo bhunkte stena eva saha. Krishna calls a person a thief. So those who take things from nature, Ishtan Bogan Hivo Deva, but don't give anything in return, don't take care of nature. Deva here means the entities governing forces of nature, right? We saw Ishtan Bogan Hivo Deva Dasyante Yajna Bhavita Tairdattan Apradayebhya Yo Bhunkte Stena Eva Saha. Stena means thief. So this is along the same lines. Evam bahubida yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vittitan sarvan evam nyatva vimokshase. In this manner, many types of yajnas are described in the words of the Vedas. Know that all these yajnas are born from action. So Krishna is telling, therefore you should act. Knowing thus, you will be liberated. Evam, thus. Bahuvida yajna, many kinds of yajna. Vitata, they are all described. Brahmano mukhe. So here, Brahmano mukhe literally means in the mouth of the Brahman. What is the mouth of the Brahman? Brahman also means the Vedas. The Vedas are considered sacrosanct. It is the Brahman. Sometimes the word, instead of using the word Veda, we'll see later, Krishna uses Brahman. So Brahmano mukhe, in the mouth of the Brahman, which means the words of the Vedas. These are all described. And Karmajan Viditan Sarvan. Karmajan. Ja means being born. They're all born of action, karma. Tan Sarvan. All these. Evam Nyatva Vimokshase. Having known thus, Evam Nyatva. This known thus, Vimokshase. You will get liberated. So Krishna is now going to talk about the last jnana yajna, right, and the dravya yajna. So far, of the 12 yajnas, 11 karma yajnas have been described. One jnana yajna was also mentioned, and the Vedas contain many, many, many karma yajnas. Now Krishna is going to describe the jnana yajna in detail. Krishna will make it very clear that karma yajna or dravya yajna is can only give purification of the mind, but to get liberated, you need the jnana yajna. So you will see a similar trend, right, in the third chapter, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, the second chapter also. But Karma Yajna will purify the mind, but eventually you need the Jnana Yajna to get liberated. Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnat Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnat. Better, Shreya, better than Dravyamayam, like Jnanamayam. So it's saying better than yajnas done with material objects. Jnana yajna parantapa. The yajna of knowledge is superior. Dravyamaya means involving materials. It is not dravya yajna, which is charity, giving materials out. Here it means dravyamaya yajna. It is using material objects. So you're building a fire, putting things into the fire, all that. The yajna of knowledge is superior. All actions in their entirety culminate in knowledge. Sarvam karma akhilam partha. All actions in their entirety, jnane parisamapyate. So this is a little a tricky thing. What do you mean by all actions culminate in knowledge? So one way to look at it, if you cook elaborately and no one eats the food, then the effect of the karma yajna is zero. Similarly, unless the karma fructifies in knowledge, it is useless. So you're putting a lot of actions. Say, let's say you're cooking, but if nobody eats the food, then the benefit is zero, right? So similarly, unless the karma yajna fructifies in knowledge, it is not useful. The second meaning is jnanam is superior to karma because all the karma palams are included in the jnana palam. The logic is that karma palams are finite because it is produced in time. It's finite in nature. But jnana palam, it's infinite because it is liberation. So jnana is higher. So all finite objects are a subset of infinity, right? That's another way to look at it. So there are two ways to look at it. It's very symbolic. Only if action culminates in knowledge or it purifies the mind and the body, so it is suitable for receiving knowledge, only then it is considered proper. That's kind of what Krishna is trying to say here. So there are a lot of these in Bhagavad Gita. There are some of these words which are like a little twisted, so very indirect. It's because it's a poetry, right? So you have to use a good commentary to understand that. And fortunately, Shankaracharya comes to our rescue. So karma yoga or karma yajna, then jnana yoga, jnana yajna, that leads to liberation. We've seen this many, many, many times, right? Karma yoga makes the mind and the body fit. for receiving knowledge which takes you to liberation. Okay, now Krishna is going to describe how you get this knowledge. He says, Tat vitti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadharshinaha. May you gain that knowledge by prostration, by asking the right questions, and through service to a guru. Tat vidhi pranipathena means prostrate. Pariprashnena, by asking the right questions. All pari means around, so like many, all directions and angles. Pariprashna, then by service, sevaya, through service to a guru. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinah. Jnaninaha, jnani, the wise person who is tattvadarshi bihi, who has seen the truth, wise who have seen the truth. Upadekshanti te, that knowledge. They what? That knowledge. They, that wise person, a guru, will teach the knowledge to you. This is how you have to look for knowledge. Find a guru, prostrate, don't have a big ego, ask the right questions, and serve the guru. That's what it says. So, the two aspects needed for knowledge: Shastra, the scriptures, and a guru. Which is why in this tradition, or in all traditions, it's very important to follow a traditional interpretation, because over time it's perfected. There, some people say, "Oh, I come up with my own interpretation of Yoga Sutras." So I'm right now dealing with one such person who keeps attacking me and says he doesn't believe in karma, and so he has his own interpretation of Yoga Sutras. But the Shastra says, flee such a person, somebody who says they have their own interpretation, because these things have been perfected over time, and you need a parampara, a tradition, to interpret things properly. Okay, so we've finished the topic on means for gaining this knowledge, and it's also its glories. We've seen some of the glories. The last portion, we have 8 shlokas. They talk about the fruits of this knowledge. It's called Jnana Palam, Jnana Palani. Maybe we'll see 1 or 2 shlokas. Yajñātvā na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutan yasheshena drakshasyatman yato mayi. Knowing this yajñātva, knowing this knowledge, O Pandava, you will not again be deluded in this manner. Because in the first chapter, in the beginning of the second chapter, we saw how confused Arjuna was. Siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishushyati. So he says, my arms are trembling, my mouth is dry, and I'm just totally deluded. And he surrenders to Krishna. So Krishna is telling, if you know this, you will not be deluded in this manner. And by this knowledge, you shall see all beings in yourself and in me. Yena bhutan asheshena means all, complete. Yena bhutani asheshena drakshyasi atmani yato mayi. Drakshyasi atmani, in yourself, and atho, and in me. Mayi means in me. So with this knowledge, you'll see same Atma the consciousness in all beings. So that's the first benefit, Samadarshana. He is going to again talk about the same thing in the 6th chapter. One of the benefits of meditation, Samadarshanam. So, so Arjuna, as I said, was totally deluded, right? Lot of internal conflicts. It's because of confusion. So this, just to remind that shloka, Nachaitad vitmakataranno gariyaha yadva jayema yadipano jayeyuhu yane vahatvana jiji vishamaha te vastita pramukhe dhartarashtraha. Look at this level of confusion. He's saying we do not know which is better, whether we kill them or they kill us. They stand before us, the sons of Dhritarashtra, having killed whom we do not want to live. So that is his level of confusion. His delusion was so strong. So the two immediate benefits, internal conflicts. He was conflicted. You see the conflict, whether they kill or we kill them. So moha nakshaha, the internal conflict, this delusion is removed. And then the next one is Jivatma Paramatma Aikya Darshanam. This is the focus of the last Shatkam, the oneness of all jivas and the Paramatma, what you call as God. And in the 6th chapter, it comes again and again and again. So this is so important, seeing the same consciousness pervading all entity. So Krishna uses a lot of verses in the 6th chapter to discuss that. We'll see that in the next class. And I'm going to stop the recording here so that we can do the chanting.